We're at a local music studio focused on an upcoming beach music event. We'll tell you all about it coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in Quinby, South Carolina, at Bradley House Studios. We're focused on this Sunday's Long Bay Symphony presents the Beach Music Legends. And we're visiting with Harry Turner of Turner Public Relations Consultants and the president of Beach Music Association International. Good morning, Harry. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, and I believe Quinby, or Florence is a suburb of Quinby. Is that right?
I've been told that many times. I'm sure a lot of our viewers would agree. It's amazing to think about kicking off this week. Couldn't think of anyone better than yourself. Of course, having Charles Jones-Evans in tomorrow,
Absolutely.
The maestro, conductor, music director with Long Bay Symphony. But to have you and Hilda together have been so instrumental, you in particular, Harry, to try to bring all the folks together for this week's taping.
Oh, well, you know, Hilda, of course, is the one that came up with the idea and just loves what this music is all about. And any way I can help pull it together, hey, it's a labor of love for me.
This Sunday night, it's getting close,
Yeah,
7 p.m., Myrtle Beach High School, Long Bay Symphony.
Right.
It's rare to have an event anywhere in America, to have an event that teams a symphony with beach music at all.
It's the first time it's ever happened. There are some symphonies that have done things with people like the Diamonds and the Spinners and groups that fringe what you'd call beach music, but they're more national acts that aren't as identified with beach music, even though Bill Pinkney and the Original Drifters and Maurice Williams and the Zodiacs are national acts. They still are considered our beach music favorites by people in the Carolinas, and of course Billy Scott is one of the true giants of beach music per se, even though he didn't really have any big national hits. He's basically, if there is such a thing, one of the superstars of beach music. So it's going to be a great event.
It will be.
Yeah,
it will be. And you've been doing so much behind the scenes to get ready for it. Couldn't think of anyone better to kick off the week. But can we catch up real quick about yourself, Harry? Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, originally. But, of course, grew up coming to the beach every summer, and the music was always a big part of it. And the book I wrote, This Magic Moment, I talk about those days. There's even a picture on the back of I was 16 years old, standing at Ocean Drive Beach, on the beach in my bathing suit, So It's always been a part of my life.
I want to talk about this magic moment. Before that, the simple question would be, when were you first introduced to beach music, Harry?
Well, it's not a matter of being first introduced to beach music. It's a matter of being introduced to rock and roll and rhythm and blues, which were the precursors of beach music. And that would have been in the late 40s. So I was born in 1942, so I was about 6, 7, 8 years old when I first heard this music and just loved it, as did so many other Carolinians. The actual term beach music didn't come into play till around the 1970s. Part of the reason was that one place you could always hear this music, even as musical taste changed elsewhere, was the Grand Strand area, the Myrtle Beach area of South Carolina.
Well, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. When we think about beach music, so many folks think about it. They think about it as it relates to shag dancing, for instance.
Exactly, yeah.
Is it still, does that connotation, is that appropriate?
Well, absolutely. The shag is certainly the most popular of the dances done to what we call Carolina beach music. But the fact that Carolina beach music and the shag are basically synonymous is really not true, because a lot of what's shagged to today is not really Carolina beach music. In other words, it has 120 beats, but it might be a country song or a disco or a rap or a rock or Latin or something like that, but you still can shag to it well. Beach music, though, is, some people call it old school rhythm and blues, basically a black-based music. It's been kept alive throughout the 70s, 80s, 90s until today by a lot of acts, both black and white, who play as the bulk of what they play, that original rhythm and blues beach music type. But by the same token, not all beach music can be shagged to. A lot of it, to be honest, you can't. We consider a lot of slow songs as beach music. Some of the biggest artists of beach music, as an example, have very few, if any, songs you can shag to. A case in point, Jerry Butler. A case in point, Barbara Lewis. Case in point, Jackie Wilson. Sam Cooke. People like this were always beach music artist favorites So the music is a more generic and not as narrow as just one dance to 120 beats a minute, you see. Mm-hmm. But certainly the affiliation is very strong.
Mm-hmm. This all seems so fresh in your mind, Harry. It just seems so right off the tip of your tongues. You've lived this.
It's been a big part of my life. There's no doubt. It's something I've loved, and as I've watched music tastes change, and in many cases, may I add, the changes were not just something that happened. Those changes were in many ways orchestrated by the recording industry, the media, and the entertainment industry for non-altruistic purposes, which is great, of course, in it to make money. Mm-hmm. But, as an example, in the 1960s, rock and roll formed, of course, in the 50s. So from the early 50s to the mid-60s, American rhythm and blues-based rock and roll was the dominant music form in the world. Mm-hmm. But after the British invasion, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and what have you, it took a dramatic turn away from this black-based music, which we loved. Mm-hmm. But we in the South didn't go along with the marketing that was done to the rest of the world. That's why beach music in many ways has stayed. It just didn't have a name at that point. We just still liked original American black-based rhythm and blues, rock and roll music. Mm-hmm. And we many of us weren't going to accept those changes. A lot of us, those who were really into the music, didn't go along with it. When I was in the service, 1964, never forget, I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas. Mm-hmm. I was in the Air Force, Kelly Air Force Base. And my sister sent me a chart from WQOK radio station in Greenville. Now, the San Antonio stations, the entire top 10 were British artists. Mm-hmm. The Animals, all the Herman's Hermits, whatever it may have been. When she sent me the WQOK chart, there wasn't a British song in the top 10. It was all Temptations and Marvin Gaye and Barbara Lewis and Otis Redding, and you see.
Wow, yeah.
That's just the way it was in this area, and that's why beach music is so strong, because it is truly our music, and in many ways we kind of said, hey, the recording industry be darned, you ain't going to take our music away from us.
That's great,
yeah,
Harry.
Yeah.
There's a couple of buzzwords to me, but they're exciting when we think about your course out of Coastal Carolina University.
Yeah,
I want to talk about that, but this magic moment.
Yeah.
You authored a book. It's been out for how long?
It's been out since 1994. We're in the process of, in the next year, updating it and re-releasing it. Probably the year 2004 is when we'll do that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a book. It's a growing up in the Carolinas historical perspective of rock and roll, rhythm and blues, and what later became beach music, including the societal implications and changes that went right along with it. And it's done very well. I simply felt that our music and our lifestyle, this whole Carolina thing, and this love for music, and the way we as blacks, whites, young, old, whatever, got along so well through this music as a common denominator. It just cut through all kind of stuff. In fact, I'll never forget, Joseph Lowry, Reverend Lowry, was a director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference in Atlanta after Martin Luther King. That was his organization. And I got to know them because Curtis Mayfield and I, when I lived in Atlanta writing the book, became very good friends. He was one of the pioneers. He was with the Impressions, and he did one of the greatest songwriters of all time. He's paralyzed from the neck down the last years of his life. But because of that, they wanted to have an event, an SCLC event, and bring Curtis Mayfield. So they contacted me and said, Harry, can you help get Curtis to this event? We want to honor him. And can you get the Impressions, the group he first sang with, to come and perform at that event, which I did, and ended up emceeing that part of it. But Mrs. Lowry pulled me aside, and she said, Harry, now this is a lady that walked the Selma March and all these kinds of things. Really a piece of history, she and her husband. She said, Harry, I honestly believe that this music may have done as much or more for civil rights than the actual civil rights movement. Now, that's strong.
That is.
Yeah.
And it's true to form. It's been shown over time, bringing races together.
Exactly.
When Maurice Williams was on New Year's Eve that day, it was New Year's Day.
Yeah.
When he talked about first performing to white fraternities, his band performing to groups, all those guys cheered him on, loving his music.
Right.
The race was not a thought.
And they loved the artists themselves, not just the music. And see, having seen that in this world, I know this may sound Pollyannish, but it really is not. I really saw and sensed all of this, and that's why I wanted to write it from the Carolina perspective, because I think we have an answer within this music of things that can really make things better, plus keep a great music alive. That's why I wrote the book.
Aside from being an author, you're a nationally syndicated host. You've been recognized.
Well, I was at one time.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of put that aside because of some changes in the radio business. Became much more robotic and
your name's so recognized. And,
yeah, I've been in it for a long time.
That came to the forefront as to why Coastal Carolina University would wrap around you and actually give accredited class the opportunity to have you as an instructor.
Yeah. Now, let's correct it. It's not really accredited. It's a continuing education class, but we're working towards including beach music into the general curriculum of Coastal Carolina. It's Dr. Ron Engel's vision. I'll quote Dr. Engel. He said it is his vision to make Coastal Carolina to beach music what the University of Mississippi is to the blues. So this is only the beginning of something that's going to be a much larger movement.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad you corrected me on that.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I knew it was continuing education now, but surely the goal over time, not only for Dr. Engel, but also for the community writ large to bring it in to much higher recognition. February 16th, can you give the viewers a sense of what they're going to see if they come to Myrtle Beach High School, 6:30, leading up to a 7 o'clock kickoff?
I can honestly say that they're going to see maybe one of the top 5 or 6 greatest shows that's ever played in Myrtle Beach of any kind of music. See, this music is such a great, fun-filled music, but it's also a melodic music. It's a music that lends itself to a symphony orchestra. You got to remember, a lot of those songs when they were recorded had strings and stuff in the background. So this is not, they're not really strangers to each other. It's just that it's never happened until now. And it's not going to be, some people like to look at the symphony as being kind of stuffy and stuff. I don't, but some people do. You hear people say that. Believe me, this is going to be so much fun, but at the same time, there's going to be a lot of beautiful, inspirational music. It's just going to be, people are going to walk away, Greg, thanking us for putting this thing on. I know so.
Viewers of all ages, all music interest, should take the time to travel over to the high school. If they're in the PD, to drive down. It's an easy drive down 501. Myrtle Beach High School is off of between 29th and Thirty-Eighth Avenue. Of course, they can call the Long Bay Symphony.
And the acoustics, I understand, at the Myrtle Beach High School auditorium are second to none. So, I mean, it's going to be done in a first-class manner all the way around.
Why do you think it's important to preserve this music for future generations, Harry?
Okay, part of the reason is what I said earlier about how it brings people together. It really does. It just puts things aside. But secondly, it's because it's one of the best musics ever recorded. What happened was when it replaced the big band era, the big band people didn't want that to happen because they were losing their position of power. So they tried to make it seem like it really wasn't a good music. As a lot of the people who performed it were not school trained, they just had an innate musical talent. And see, that has been so well recognized since then. So bringing in its credibility and showing the world how truly good it really is, you could understand the words, and it just made you feel darn good.
Harry, I said when I introduced you that you're the president of Beach Music Association International.
Right.
We just got a couple minutes. Can you tell the viewers real quick what Beach Music Association International is and some of the functions that it carries on each year?
Well, it is an organization of people who really care about the music. You got to remember, the SHAG has already been organized through SOS and through the Society of SHAG Clubs, but that's kind of the dance leading the music. The music has kind of gotten lost in the shuffle, so we felt we needed to bring attention back to the music itself, which we're doing, and to springboard it worldwide because so much of the music is already known worldwide. It's just through the beach music banner that it's carried forward. Also, we want people to see in person how talented these artists are. It's not just about the recordings, it's about putting them in front of people. And this will be our 3rd year. We're going to be doing Beach Music Day on the State House, the Capitol steps. And at that event, we're going to be saluting the 50th anniversary of the Drifters, who, when Life magazine did their first 50 years of rock and roll coffee table book a few months ago, they named the 100 most influential rock and roll acts in history. The Drifters finished number 19.
Golly.
So we know, even though we kind of claim them as our own, the Drifters are big worldwide, and we know this is going to be a tremendous event. Hopefully many national acts will be coming in. It's all for free right there on the steps of the Capitol. April 9th is the day.
April 9th.
It's on a Wednesday in Columbia. Right.
And Beach Music Association International has been bringing folks together from around the country. Is it primarily Carolina-based folks?
It's from around the country, but it's starting. We have board members from North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. But that's only because of the proximity. We are growing and have advisory board members from all across the United States. But the active board, 17 members, are all from Georgia, North and South Carolina. But you got to start somewhere.
We're listening to one of the men who's been instrumental in helping get ready for this Sunday night's performance. Long Bay Symphony presents three legends of beach music. Harry Turner. Harry, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
You're welcome, buddy.
Professor Turner. That's right. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Quimby, South Carolina, at Bradley House Studios. We're focused on the legends in beach music to be performed with the Long Bay Symphony this Sunday at 7 p.m. at Myrtle Beach High School. And we're visiting with Hilda Merritt Carter, the Society columnist for Alternatives and Coast News magazines, and the founding board member of Beach Music Association International. Good morning, Hilda. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Isn't this nice in the studio
in the
here?
Studio here in Quimby. It's amazing to think when you and I were driving up early this morning.
Right.
To think about getting up here and getting ready for this interview today. It's amazing to think about all that goes into what's going to happen this Sunday night at 7 p.m. at Myrtle Beach High School and all that you've done. Really, this was your brainchild, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. I dreamed it.
What prompted you to come up with this idea, Hilda?
Well, I love beach music. And, of course, Maurice Williams, and Billy Scott, and Bill Pickney are really good friends of mine. And I just love them to death. Love to see them perform because they're so great. And then Charles Evans, to me, is a genius. That's how I can display Charles. Because I knew that he could put this thing together. If anybody could, he could. And he has. And I think that the people that miss this show will hate themselves forever, because it's going to be one of the most spectacular shows that's been in our area. Because it's putting beach music in concert style is going to be quite a feat. And I think that when I dreamed about this, I saw the whole show. It was just like it was there. And, of course, when I told a few people about it, they thought I'd lost my mind. But once I got to the board members of Long Bay, and then Charles, of course, Charles, talking to him, he got very excited about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because he knew that this could be done. And, of course, he's written all the music for it. And we certainly depend on him to really pull this thing off, which he will do.
So Hilda Merritt Carter not only loves beach music, but she loves the Long Bay Symphony.
Oh, yes.
And you love bringing those two together.
Yes.
When we think about all you've done and all your interaction with beach music over the years, is there anything in particular that inspired you to work to help make beach music the official music for the state of South Carolina?
Well, when I was in college, I really loved jazz. I got on the jazz kick, which I don't think you can ever do away with jazz, which I still love. I was one of the owners of the South Carolina Jazz Festival that was held at Myrtle Beach. But there is still in the back of my mind, I guess it goes back to when I was a teenager. We danced by beach music. It was the music of our times. Back in the late 40s and the early 50s, and, of course, got on even more, 60 and 70. But beach music is sort of a music by itself. And a lot of people say, well, you know, why do you want to call it beach music? Because that's what it is. It originated on the beach. And I can remember as a teenager shagging. I won every kind of award there was in shagging and loved it. But beach music was something that stayed with me. And when I was in college, I was in a band, and we sang a lot of the beach music songs, and it's a music that you never forget. And I just thought this would be so great to have the people in our community and any place else that wants to come to hear these three beach music legends, which are really the best, the greatest, and with the Long Bay Symphony backing them. And, of course, as I say, Charles Evans is the genius.
Absolutely. If you and I can drive up here today to Quinby, South Carolina, from the beach, there's folks who can travel from the PD area, Robinson, Scotland County, down on a Sunday afternoon, be down for the Long Bay Symphony's presentation on Sunday night at 7, and then head back home afterwards and get home surely well before midnight. The opportunity is an amazing event. What about other people, Hilda? Who were some of the other folks that helped you to make beach music formally recognized by the state?
Okay, when it first got started, Harry Turner and Billy Scott and myself, we got together and we talked about, because there was another organization that we were in at the time that we were dissatisfied with. So together we started talking. And I don't know which one of us said, let's see if we can't get some legislature on this. Let's go to a man that could help us, which was Bubba Snow, House of Representative Bubba Snow. He brought that's why today we have shag as the dance of South Carolina, because of Bubba Snow. And also that's why we have beach music, because of him going to the governor and talking to him about it. And then, of course, we attended the House of Representatives and performed, and the Senate, and they all loved it. I mean, it was just like during their days on the beach, So it was voted on that it would be the popular music of South Carolina. And that's where we are now.
When did that become official, Hilda?
It was April the 10th, April the 8th, let me go back. It's April the 11th, 2002.
Okay, right.
When we had our first show up at the Capitol. And, of course, Governor Hodges was the governor, and he was the one that signed the proclamation that this would happen and backed it 100%.
Wow.
And, of course, Coastal Carolina has been really great because we've signed a contract with them that they will back us with the beach music. And also Harry Turner is also teaching out at the university the origin of beach music. So if anybody's interested in that, it's on Tuesday nights. They call the college and get set up with the class, and they'll really enjoy it.
Hilda, was there a concert to commemorate that event up in Columbia when it was recognized as the official music for the state of South Carolina? Yeah,
we had all the beach music bands, entertainers that were up there the year that it first started, and which was, 2001, excuse me. Because this past year, 2002, we were up there, had the same thing, but it was more people up there this time. It's just getting bigger and bigger. So we perform right there on the steps, the back steps of the Capitol, and everybody's out there dancing and singing and having a good time. So,
Hilda, and obviously that second concert was even more special for you.
Yes,
you remember that occasion. Why was it so special?
Well, that's because Governor Hodges presented me the Silver Crescent Award.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and of course I was thrilled to death, in shock, but I never will forget it. And the good part about it was he named April 10th throughout South Carolina as Hilda Merritt Carter Day. So I was excited about that.
Have there been more concerts scheduled for to help recognize beach music as the official music for the state?
Well, the ones, like I say, that we had at the Capitol.
Right.
And this year we had James Brown there. He came to visit, and of course, you know, he goes back to the beach music.
Right.
But we are going to be having this concert, which will be the 16th of February on a Sunday. And after that, we will be having concerts probably at Coastal Carolina and some of the other places around. We will be having the shows and bringing in all these beach music stars, you know.
Absolutely. That's what Harry talked about a few minutes ago about the April 9th performance, I believe, in Columbia.
Yes.
Another one of those annual performances to help highlight beach music.
Yes.
When you think about everything, what was it that drove you to figure out that this was going to work so well? Was there anything in particular that just jumped out at you? Well,
I guess it goes back to being PR director under Fred Brinkman. Fred was a man of ideas, and I think that because I was trained by him, I see like he did, things that people want and things that I want. And it just, the ideas is there, and they just come. Sometimes I have the headache from having so many ideas, but that's true. You visualize it in your mind. It's like a dream. And then when it comes true, it's even better, which I can't wait till that Sunday night for it to come true.
We're visiting with a woman who's full of ideas. Catch her this Sunday night, the 16th of February at Myrtle Beach High School, as the Long Bay Symphony presents Legends of Beach Music. Hilda Merritt Carter, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you, Greg.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Don't forget, Myrtle Beach High School Auditorium, this Sunday, 7 o'clock, 3 beach music legends perform in concert with the Long Bay Symphony. You better call ahead for tickets. Call 843-448-8379.